Okay, so welcome everybody. Fiscal period closures. This is our 18th session, the 18th Alma Ask the Expert session. It's hard to believe it's gone by so fast. All of these previous sessions you see here are recorded and available on our Ask the Expert site. Next week, we've got a special session coming up about the developer network. It's going to be a combined session where we're going to actually make and use APIs on the spot. And we're going to have administrative questions for those of you who want to know about the usernames and passwords you've got, what environment they're connecting to, etc. So, with no further ado, I think we can begin. I'm here with Yochai. Yochai is from the development department, not the development network of next week, but the development department of Alma, specializing. What do you specialize in, Yochai? Acquisition?
Acquisition, yeah.
Mainly acquisitions. He's just being modest. He's really a specialist in everything, but they've got him right now in acquisitions. Okay, so let's begin. We're going to begin with question 2. And Yochai and I are going to be switching back and forth. One initial comment, the fiscal period closure, it's a bit more difficult to show than the other Ask the Experts we've had because you can't just keep running it. It's not like the physical item requests where you can show one and then make another one, or normalization routines or analytics, where you can just keep doing the process over and over. Once you open a fiscal period, you could delete the funds and ledgers, which is actually something we're going to do right from the start, but you've already got your fiscal period open. And then you can't open the next one again. I can't just open now 2015, then 16, then 17, then 18. So we can show the actual process once, but relate to the questions afterwards without the process. Okay, enough introduction. So the first one we've got here. You'll see a few questions today which say we have been looking in depth in the guide. The first library to send in the questions, we like to take things, either the first person who sends it in or questions that many people have asked. So someone went through the guide and gave us a lot of questions. So here, we've been looking in depth at the acquisitions guide and have a few questions. We're a bit confused over how to close but not delete a fund. Can you explain? Okay, so there's no actual button or activity which does close. However, the funds do get transferred, the whole ledger with the funds under it do get transferred from one fiscal period to another fiscal period in a sense, on a philosophical level or on a high design level. One could say the fund closed in the other older fiscal period, but there's no actual close. There is delete, and we're going to take a look at that. There's also deactivate, but not really a close. Let's take a look at what's going on here. So the delete, first of all, will only work if the ledger has no transactions. Transactions meaning encumbrances or expenditures. If there's allocations on it, it will. Let's take a look. Enough talking. So here I am in Alma. Now, there's another question about how do I know what fiscal period we have? We're going to do this one at the same time. We read in documentation that when I run the rollover ledger, it will create a new fiscal period. If I do not already have it, how can I see which fiscal period I have defined? Okay, so here we are in Alma. First of all, let's really see what fiscal periods I have defined. So I'm going to go to my Acquisitions Configuration menu. Then to General and Fund and Ledger Fiscal Period. Boom. There she is. So all of these are my old inactive ones. And here I am active 2013, 2014, June 30th, 2014. So I'm going to need to open pretty soon, if not already, anyway. Okay. Now, let's take a look at something here. Funds and ledgers. Right now, we can see here in my ledgers, the only thing I have 2013, 2014, library ledger, 13, 14, fiscal period ledger. I'm going to get rid of the fiscal period. I have no other active fiscal period. The only fiscal period that exists, let's get rid of this ledger too, so we see everything. Here's all of my fiscal periods. The highest one is 2013, 2014. If I come now to funds and ledgers, rollover. Rollover ledgers, and I add a job. One of the jobs I have, one of the actions I have is delete. When I choose this delete, the screen is going to change, and all. Now, a little aside here, there's also options to choose specific ledgers. It only works with all, and we're changing so there won't be the pull-down box. If you choose a specific one, that's not how it's done. It's done with all, and let's see what's going to happen. I'm going to open a notepad so we can keep track of what I'm doing. We're going to go in here to Funds and Ledgers, and I'm going to say Add a Ledger. And we'll call this ledger, for example, Library and Information Science, with a code LIS, and that should do it. Activate. I have a ledger called Library and Information Science. Here she is. And we're going to go to Edit. And we're going to say here we have a ledger 2013, 2014, right? Library and Information Science. Yep, 2013, 2014. Wonderful. And we'll go to Funds, and I'll add one allocated fund called Library Science. And we'll activate him, and we'll give him some money.
No, I have another
Edit.
question.
Transactions, add transaction, allocation, 1,000 should suffice, add. Wonderful, confirm. So under there we have one fund called Library Science with 1,000. This is the ledger. Sorry about that. Trying to drag a notepad, it doesn't work. Okay, and then we have a fund name, Library Science, which as of now has $1,000, no encumbrance or expenditure. Then we're going to come along back to the level of the ledger, funds, add. Same thing here. This one we'll call Information Science, IS, and activate that one. And we'll give him some money too. Give him 1,000. All of this is so we can show in a moment the deletion and then later the rollover. 1, 1, 2, 3. Add. Fantastic. So as of now, we also have a fund name, information science, under this ledger. Okay, now a brand new thing. Save. Another ledger. I'm going to close here, so I'm back up. It's like a tree. Add a ledger. We'll call this one computer science. Activate. Inside computer science, he's active, right? We're going to edit, add a fund. Just one fund here. We'll call this one Java. Activate him. Give him some money. Add transaction, allocation, 1,000, add, save. Okay, so what do we have now? Another ledger called computer science with a fund name Java. And we also said the ledger, or the fund, I'm going to say, the fund will be deleted if it has no transactions, encumbered, or expended. Okay, so someone tell me what would happen right now. We see these. What would happen right now if I came to rollover ledgers? Oh, I'm echoing. And delete. I would tell someone to mute themselves so it won't echo, but it's kind of cool. And I chose this delete, and I chose 2013, 2014. I'm going to say all, but we can see what I just added is here. I'm not going to do it now. Close will cancel it, right? Right. Okay, because it's a little confusing. Add and close, or just close, or add. So this theoretically could be this and this. But we're going to close. It should be canceled.
It should be.
Anyway. We didn't run, or back, or get out of here, an X. Yeah. In any case, so, oh, that's right, someone just wrote in, it would delete them both. I mean, it would not delete either one, right. It would not delete them because there's no encumbrance or expenditure. It would delete them because there's no encumbrance or expenditure. The fund will be deleted if it has no encumbrance or expenditure. Now let's watch what's going to happen. Let's go, first of all, look at our vendors for a moment, just to make sure we've got something good here that works. Let's take the AAAAS actions edit, and he's got US dollars. Everything looks good there. Fantastic. I'm going to go into the metadata editor for a moment. And file new Mark 21 bibliographic. Only this one takes a long time. The other questions are much shorter, but here we're building our infrastructure, our basis for the whole future. Okay, so this will be libraries and the use of rolling over. Okay. We're going to order that. Okay, that's going to be a print book one time in the main library. Oh, I got a template here. Isn't that nice? Okay. So we have one item, material Material supplier, international library vendor. The fund is what's important for us now. I'm going to get rid of this fund. I'm going to use one of the funds we just used a moment ago, Java. Oh, that's the receiving note. That won't help me much. Here we go. It's in the new quick add. Everybody likes the quick add. And we're going to give it a price. It's $100. Okay, wonderful. Order now. Okay, so now one of those funds has an encumbrance. Great. So if we go back now to my funds and ledgers, we're going to start at the top now, 2013, 2014. Let's get rid of the ledger. We have two ledgers, or at least two ledgers we're using. Library ledger was already here. We're using computer science, library, and sorry about that. What's going on here? We have computer science, library, and information science. If we click on library and information science, there is no encumbrance on any of them. Everything is clean here. We didn't touch it. However, I'm going to go back here, so at the top of the tree, 2013, 2014, computer science has one fund in it. This is a fund, this is the ledger. The one fund has an encumbered balance. So now we're going to update this. Java 1000 USD, Java and has 100 USD encumbrance. Okay. And then we said the fund will be deleted if it has no transaction or expended. The opposite of that, the other way to say that, the fund will be deleted if it does have. I know that has no is from a translation of the double negatives in other languages. The fund will be deleted if it does have a transaction. Okay, that's maybe a clearer way of saying it. Pardon?
Will not be deleted if it does have a transaction.
Right. That's the double negative. No, that's the single negative. Okay, so right now, if we look at this, the fund will be deleted as a transaction. This one has a transaction, so this one should be deleted. Should be deleted. Everybody agree?
Should not be deleted.
Right.
Right.
Okay, everybody agrees. So here, are there any questions before we actually run it? This one should be okay. It should get deleted because it has no transactions. Alma says, okay, you don't want it, you change your mind, go ahead. Same thing here. This one, it's logical that Alma is not going to delete it because there's a transaction on it. First, you have to get rid of that transaction, then you can delete it. Let's see what's going to happen. Everyone sees here what exists. Everybody sees here before we start, computer science has Java, and everybody sees that library and information science has library science and computer science. These should not get affected. So now let's run it. The moment we've all been waiting for. Roll over ledgers, add a job, delete all for 2013, 2014, add and close. Now, let's wait a moment while it runs, and let's open now Alma and see what's going to happen. One moment. Completed successfully. Let's first of all, pending, sorry about that. This one doesn't have the refresh. I thought we added the refresh. Didn't we add the refresh to this part here? Oh, is this a really old version? How can that be? June? Okay, in any case, completed successfully. That's today. Let's take a look. View. Looks good to me. One ledger was deleted. Two, why are they saying failed though? Oh, there were many more. In addition to the two we made, there was another one.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Now, we're going to go into Alma. What we should see, before I click it, if everything's all right, Java should not be deleted. Library and Information Science, the two funds there, should be deleted. Let's go take a look. Funds and ledgers. Everybody's in suspense. Look at that. Library and Information Science used to have two funds. Library Science and Information Science, they were both correctly deleted. Now, if I open up Computer Science, Java should still be there because it has a transaction. And there it is, it's still there. That one was not deleted, so everything went properly. Okay, that's our studio audience. We apologize, they get a little wild sometimes. So, back to the question here. There's no closing. Let's even bring it to the next thing now. If I roll this over, now we're going to roll over. We have one fund, which is called Java with a $100 encumbrance, right? And we're going to roll it over. Roll over ledgers. Create allocation? No. Ledgers all. Let's make it active. We know it works. We don't have to do draft first. It's funny there's no refresh here because in the other one they had a refresh. Okay, that's completed successfully. Two finished. Let's go take a look. It should now be in the next fiscal period. Let's first of all look at our fiscal period. Okay, so it was opened. The new one was opened. And funds and ledgers, get rid of the year here. Here's my computer science. Here's our new fiscal period. The new fiscal period was opened. We still have the Java here. Okay. And you can see right here. Okay. Now this one here still doesn't have anything. Nothing. We haven't rolled over anything. We haven't done a reallocation. Let's wait on that for the future. Are there any questions until now? We're going to switch to Yochai for another question or two. Any questions or comments until now? No questions or comments. Everybody still hear us okay? Can you raise your hand if you hear us? Okay, the hands are going up. Great. Okay, Yochai, I'm going to turn it over to you. And there you go.
Hi, everyone. We will continue to question 7. Okay, this question is related to when we're creating an invoice or an order and we want to assign a fund to that order. And let's assume that we have current fiscal period and we can assume that we have the next fiscal period. And every fiscal period has its funds and ledgers in it. And let's assume that we have the next fiscal period open for encumbrance, even though we are still in June and July 1st hasn't arrived yet. So you can set the funds that will be allowed to get encumbrance prior to the start of the fiscal period. So how can, if I roll over Java and I look at here, I can see that the name Java appears in both funds, and I feel that both of them are active for allocation. How can I know which one to use when I look at the invoice, so or the order? So let's go to the order. Let's see, do you remember the
James Smith?
No.
And it was roll. Let's go ahead with that. Start with that. How many can we have with James Smith? That's not a common name.
Okay. Okay, so we can see here that when we add a fund, there are three fields are presented in the fund when we use it. One of them is the name of the fund. The other one, in parentheses, is the fiscal period it belongs. And it takes the name of the fiscal period from the table that you just showed, and it takes the description field. You can put whatever you want. It's a editable field there, and you can call it 2014 or use the default name when you run the rollover. Everything is good. And then the last field is the available balance. This is, if you remember, you just put $1,000 allocated for this fund, but the encumbrance of this fund was at $100, so it has a $900 available dollars. So this is how you can, by looking at the fund, you can see which fiscal period it belongs. Any questions?
And it also appears that way in the invoice.
Also appears that way in the invoice. Everywhere where we are handling funds, if we go to invoice, I don't know if we have invoices here. Let's see if we might have one, at least one. Okay, here it is. So if we look at the invoice, so fund will be actually in the invoice line, not in the invoice itself, and you can look at it. If we add an invoice line, let's do it. And then go there. This one. You can see that the fund, and you can see exactly how it's shown in the PO line. It is also shown in the invoice. You can see the fund name. You can see how it is, to which fiscal period it belongs, and how much is the available balance. If I do add and close, now I have an invoice pointing to that PO line. This is the fund. And now this fund also has income expenditure on it. Any questions?
No questions from anybody? Okay, it's a big crowd. Audio probably?
Yeah. We have a very nice rating.
Okay, next. Back to the beginning. We've been looking in depth. Now, like I said at the beginning, most of this is not actually live on the computer. It's a tough topic to show. And it's also a tough topic because people are really only interested in it maybe 2 weeks of the year, you know, and then they just don't want to hear about it again until the next time. Okay, anyway, we've been looking in depth at the acquisitions guide and have a few questions. Okay, this is the same person, I'll say. It's not a male or a female, a person. On the last day of the current, okay, she quotes the guide here, which, by the way, we changed following this comment. On the last day of the current fiscal period, a job must run to copy the encumbered PO lines to the new fiscal period. During the rollover process, like we saw, you can select whether you want to increase or decrease. Okay, do we really need to do this on the last day of the fiscal period? Okay, no. You don't need to do this job that we're talking about, the rollover the PO lines, the rollover of the ledger, which happens first. You don't need to do it on the last day of a fiscal period. You can do it earlier than that. You can also even wait until the fiscal period is over and do it in the next fiscal period. The main important thing is that everybody in the library is coordinated and knows what's going on. For example, if the end of a fiscal period were to be on a Wednesday and the library said, well, I'm not going to do the new one until Monday after the weekend, then on Thursday, no one should be entering new orders or transactions if they want them all to be still on the older fiscal period. But it doesn't have to be the last day of one or the first day of the other, and that has changed in the guide. Okay, let's see if we've got any questions here. Someone says, is it recommended to run the delete ledger before rollover?
I would say it is actually, it doesn't really matter because the rollover only takes the encumbrance on the funds belong to that fiscal period and roll it over to the next fiscal period. If you can delete the ledger, it means that it doesn't have anything on it. It doesn't have funds. If you don't want this ledger in your next fiscal period, so you can delete it before the rollover, but you don't need to be aware that any transaction from this ledger will be rolled over when you roll over the PO line. So if you want to work clean, I would say you can delete it, but you don't have to in terms of recommendation.
Okay. And then we have another one. If this PO line is rolled over, will it then reflect the New Year's fund in the order? I assume you're referring to this one here from Jane Smith. When I made the order, I made it at the time of 2013, 2014, which it states here.
Do you want to roll it?
Then I rolled it. Did I roll it?
You didn't roll it.
I didn't roll it yet.
No, wait. You cannot roll it now because when I added the invoice, it's a one-time PO line. When you add the invoice in it, it's put it as a fully invoice. And
so now it's like stuck there, we can say.
We can create a new order and then roll it.
Let's do a quick new order. But if I do a new order now, let's do it. What's going to happen? Let's give it a try. File, new, Mach 21 bibliographic. Rolling. Keep again, you know what it is. And this is still Jane Smith. She specializes in rollovers. That's her specialty. Okay. This is once again going to be a print book one time. Main library. And this, create. and leave the same material supplier, put in that fund. Now this is going to be interesting. I think I rolled over. Let's see what's going to happen. I'll just start typing it here, Java. Okay, so it's only giving you the 2013, 2014. Maybe nothing's been rolled over yet. Select.
You created the next fiscal year.
Yeah.
You haven't rolled anything. But bear in mind that you don't have enough money because you didn't allocate anything in the next fiscal year.
Okay, let me give it 10. I see what you're saying. When we roll over, we can allocate.
When you roll over, you can choose create allocation, but you choose not to create allocation during the ledger rollover. No.
Okay, so now, oh, give me a break. I didn't put the add fund. Sorry about that, everybody. Surely everyone out there has done that at least once in their life. If not 10 times. Okay, there we go. Now, Jane Smith Keep. Wonderful. 2013, 2014. Now, roll over. Okay, let's give this one some money now. We're in computer science, in the fund Java, the one we used. It's good. It's going to go now to 2015, which still has nothing. We could have allocated when this got opened. We'll allocate here 2,000. This year he's getting 2,000. Add. Confirm, save. Okay, so now we gave Java in 2014, 2015, $2,000. That's because when we did the rollover, which we're not going to do again now, when we did this rollover ledger, we did not do create allocation, therefore now it has nothing. Now we're going to roll over, and roll over will be for this question here. If this PO line is rolled over, will it then reflect the New Year's fund in the order? Okay, so close that. And here we go. Roll over PO lines. Is everyone watching? Because we can't keep doing this one over and over. It's a one-time deal. Unless we do another Ask the Expert in June of 2015. We'll leave this environment just like this.
And then we'll get back to it.
Okay, encumbrance. We got a question later about this. I'm going to give it a factor. Okay, just for the fun.
It's a one-time, it won't affect the factor, but you can try it.
I'll try it anyway. All libraries. If I leave it blank, it's all, right?
Yeah.
Check over encumbrance. Nah, don't even check it. Here we go. Okay, so, here we have the refresh. Only in the PO lines we have the refresh, not in the ledger. I recall it being everywhere. I'm refreshing. We've got all that running. Hope she's got good sneakers on. There we go. Now, look at that. Now it's in the 2015. It's in the 2015 because we rolled it over. That's the question for the person here. If this PO line is rolled over, will it then reflect the new fiscal year's fund in the order? Yes, it will. Here's the new fund in the order. And if we go to the fund, this is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to get rid of my facet of the year and just the job I got up here on the right. So now there's, in the 2014, nothing encumbered. And in the 2015, the 10 is encumbered from right now. Great. Okay, there's one more question here. Let's take a look. We have first of all, you who sent the one about if this PO line is rolled over. If that answers your question, great. If not, feel free to ask more. We have, this is a new question now that just came in. We have 0.01 in our POs. Yes, we had a recommendation like this at one time. We have 0.01 RPOs. In other words, just enough to say I have a value. Will the rollover this year take the amount spent in the invoice to create a correct encumbrance for next year? Yochai, you want to take that one?
Yeah. Well, this is a good question because it can answer one of the...
Let me stick that on the screen here so everyone can see. Here's the question right here. Boom. That's the question that just came in.
Okay. Okay, some libraries, some customers wishes to allocate funds for the PO line for the order, but they don't want to put the price because either they don't know it or they just want to mark it, and then when the invoice comes, they will pay whatever the amount is. And at the end of the year, they put 1 cent on each PO line, assuming it's a continuous PO line, and they put 1 cent, and during the year they got invoices up to amount of $1,500. So the question is, when I roll over this PO line, what would be its price in the next rollover? Will it be 0.1 or will it be 1,500? So if we go to Alma, go to rollover PO line, I will not run it, I will just show it. Okay, the job has a parameters, and one of them, the first one, is new encumbrance calculation. How do you want the new encumbrance to be calculated? Based on encumbrance or based on expenditure? If you click based on encumbrance, it means take the encumbrances from last year and put it in the next fiscal period. Of course, calculate the factor that we add here in this field. If you choose expenditure, it goes to the previous fiscal period, the one that you use in this field, and sum all the expenditures related to that PO line and use it as the new encumbrance in the next fiscal period. So if you trust the amount that you spend during the year to be the exact amount of the order in the next year, calculating the fiscal period factor, whether it's a 10% or more, then you can use the based on expenditure. What will happen is two things will happen. You get an encumbrance of $1,500 on the next fiscal period, and the PO line itself, the price of the PO line will be updated to be $1,500, and this is calculating yes or no with the FPC factor. I don't want to get stuck on the FPC factor, but assuming that you didn't put anything, you will have a new PO line with, well, the same PO line with a new price, recalculated based on the expenditure. Okay?
Thank you, Yochai. Okay. Oh, we got a lot of questions coming in. That's good. Let's see what else we got here. What about deactivating the previous year's funds? Deactivating the previous year's funds. Someone asked, and we'll put it up here in the list so everyone can see it. Oops, sorry about that. Oops, sorry, I didn't copy. Still have the old stuff in my mouse. What about deactivating the previous year's funds close? So if we go to our funds and ledgers, we've got our previous year here. I could click here and deactivate it.
Yeah, but we don't have it in a batch. Whether you want to deactivate all the ledgers from the previous fiscal period, unfortunately, we do not have a batch process that does it. But this is if you are using.
They're not going to appear anyway because of the rules, correct?
Correct. We didn't want, when you roll over the ledger from fiscal period to another and then you roll over the PO lines, we didn't want anything to happen automatically. We didn't want to deactivate the previous fund because some institutions may have a grace period after the fiscal period.
Take a look at the grace period here so everyone can see.
And they may add, click the override, so you can edit it. So they may have, for example, they want another 30 days for these funds to be able to receive encumbrances or expenditures after the fiscal period is closed. I give expenditure 50 days and income 30 days. So we don't want to mess with it, and we don't want to deactivate anything. So
let's just say, even though it's active, even though it's active, that doesn't mean that it can be used.
Yeah.
It can't be used. It's out of date unless you said that you can still use it even after the end of the fiscal period. So you have a fiscal period that ended yesterday.
Right.
The fund is still active in it. You can only use it if you have at least two, because it ended yesterday and it's already another day. So it's active, but it's not usable.
Right. So after the fiscal period is over and the grace period has also over, you have active funds, but you cannot use them. But currently, we do not have any batch process that deactivate all the funds from previous fiscal periods. Does that answer your question? Okay.
All right, let's see this next one here. Thank you for all the questions, everybody. You ready? I'm going to paste this one in. You ready, Yochai? If you run the rollover, the remaining encumbrances should move to the new fiscal year. How does that happen? Can the process deactivate the earlier fiscal year?
Well, what happened is remaining encumbrance in fiscal period does not move to the next fiscal period, not automatically, and currently cannot be done even manually by clicking fund transfer process. So if you run rollover, the remaining encumbrances, maybe they should move to the new fiscal year, but bear in mind, as I said, that these funds may still be active for a grace period of time for some institutions, and if I will touch the remaining encumbrance, it may not have enough money to get late invoices, for example. So we don't have it. Okay?
Okay. Would it be possible, we got another one. Oh, I'm going to copy this one first. This is our latest question. You want to answer that one, Yochai? Okay, let's take this one here. Would it be possible to roll over early and then on the first day of the new fiscal period deactivate the old ones? Yeah, we had this question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. It is possible to roll over earlier than the first day of the new fiscal period, as we said. And if you deactivate the old funds, and you need to go into the new fiscal period fund and go to the go here to this part of the fund, and if you want to use it before the next fiscal period starts, you need to allow encumbrances prior to fiscal period date. And if you started, let's say, 2 days before, so you put 2 here, and you can create encumbrances 2 days before the start date of the fiscal period. If you want to use expenditures prior to the fiscal period date, you should do it here. And if you want to use transfer, you should use this here. So if you created the new fiscal period, you rolled over the ledgers, and you rolled over the PO lines 2 days ahead. So it's better to go in and adjust the funds to accept encumbrances and expenditures and transfers 2 days before the fiscal period starts.
Okay, thank you. All right. Oh, I got another one here. Okay.
To continue.
It's a continuation. I'm not sure which part this continues from. Let's paste it over here. Okay, that makes sense about not batch deactivating. Not deactivating the funds really only affects the funds in ledger screen when they remove the auto filter. That's true. That's true. It made the person nervous to see the active, so I'll let them know that it doesn't matter. Yeah, it does get a little scary sometimes if you forget. I don't know if scary is the word. Perhaps confusing. If someone's in here, I'm in an older or a previous fiscal period, I see they're active, and I say, oh, wait a minute, I'm just in the old one and I can't use them anyway. Let me go into my current one.
Yeah.
Even here, I've got this sticky thing going. Okay. Whoa, once I got rid of the sticky, now I get a lot more. Okay, anyway, perhaps we'll go on now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, where were we?
I think.
Okay, is it possible to run the PO, roll over PO ledgers and create status draft and then run the PO line? Technically speaking, yes, it is possible. However, the rollover PO lines is only going to work on active ledgers. So, let's say here, I've got them both on the screen now. You can see the question and the answer. So the rollover PO lines only works on active ledgers. So if you're going to run in draft mode, then you will need to either activate them manually or delete and run again in active mode.
Right.
They have to be active, in short. When you run the rollover PO lines, they have to be active. Okay. Whoa, that's a long one. Whoa, we got a lot of long questions here. Whoa. Let us look at this question. Hold on a minute. We've got to be careful here when we copy and paste not to take anyone's name. It's all supposed to be anonymous, and we don't want to break any rules. Okay, here it is, anonymous. That's from start to finish, because we get a lot of them. Does the current fiscal period change from active to inactive or close in the course of rolling over the PO lines? Are there any additional steps that need to be done when we're finished with the previous fiscal year and do not want to change over any part of it? We'd like the previous fiscal year to be frozen once we've successfully finished the PO line rollover.
Okay, I would say this is an excellent question, and the difference between a question and an excellent question is that the excellent question lies on the next slide of the question. So if you go to question 9, when the new fiscal period arrives, do we need to do any special activities with the old fiscal period? And what will happen if, no, it's, okay. What I would say is I would go back here and I would say this. When you run the rollover PO lines, you create, you start rollover ledgers, open the next fiscal period, put the funds and ledgers, draft or active with or without allocation, whatever you feel like, and then you start working on your next fiscal period in terms of rearrange your funds and maybe delete some of them, add some of them, change some of them, split some of them, whatever you feel like, as long as nothing is done on this fiscal period yet. And now you are ready to run the rollover PO lines. When you run the rollover PO line, the rollover itself will not close or deactivate or activate any fund, will not change the fund status whatsoever. So if you run the rollover PO line, you need to make sure for two things. One, you need to make sure that all the funds in the next fiscal period are active. And two, you need to make sure that you either have enough money on it, or you want to not to handle the money, but you need to roll over the PO line. So what you can do is uncheck the checkbox that asks you whether you want to check over encumbrance. If you want Alma not to check over encumbrance, meaning you didn't allocate money on it because you don't know how much you want to allocate, you simply click that, and when you run the job, it will not check the over encumbrance rule, and it will create encumbrance whatsoever, even if it doesn't have money, but it needs to be active. And now, go back to the question, are there any additional steps that need to be done when we're finished with the previous fiscal year? I would say that first, you need to be happy because you had a great fiscal year. And then you don't have to do anything with it. It can lie there, active or inactive, if you don't want to start dealing with it right now. You can later on put someone, when you have the time for it, to deactivate the funds and deactivate the fiscal year. As long as the next fiscal year has started, the last one is over, all the grace periods are over, you will not get any new encumbrances, new expenditures, so nothing is there. I don't exactly know what you mean by would like the previous fiscal year to be frozen, but if you don't want anything to happen there, just don't do anything and it will stay as it is. But bear in mind that once you run the rollover PO line, you physically delete all the encumbrances from the last previous year and you create it in the next fiscal period, like we did when we rolled over the PO line. And in terms of recommendation, if you know exactly your environment in terms of running the reports, the analytics reports, you need to run the analytic reports by the fiscal period and not by the fund status, so you won't get active status funds from old previous fiscal period.
Okay, I'm afraid we're out of time, and we both have 6 o'clock meetings, and it's 5:59 p.m. Thank you, everybody. That was a nice session. Thank you for everybody for your participation. It's always nice to get a lot of questions there. And we hope to see everybody next week also for the Development Network. It's going to be a nice session. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week.